How's it going, everybody? Today I'm going to be showing you how to change the high pressure fuel pump and cam follower on a 2014 Q5. Alright, let's go over the tools needed. First, we got a T27, that's Trox. We got a 10mm triple square, two types, 13mm socket for my triple square, a 3/8 diameter bolt that will be used to plug the fuel line, short socket wrench, 17mm wrench that didn't make the photo shoot, and some needle nose pliers. And for parts, we're going to be using a high pressure fuel pump from Hitachi. There's the part number below. And we have a cam follower also with the part number below it. You could pause this screen if you'd like, that way you could write down these part numbers. Alright, let's take the cover off. With the cover off, let me show you where the high pressure fuel pump is located. Here's another angle. Alright, before we remove this top hose, we're going to stuff a rag under here to catch any fuel that squirts out when we remove that fuel line. Next, I'm going to remove the top sensor on the fuel pump. And then I'm going to use needle nose pliers to squeeze the clip on the fuel line and pull back while squeezing, and it should just come right off. And there's going to be a little fuel that squirts out, so be careful. And then we're going to use the 3/8 diameter bolt to plug the end of the fuel line so fuel's not dripping out while we're working on it. Now I'm going to use my 10mm triple square and 13mm socket, and I'm going to loosen the top bolt on the fuel pump. I'm just going to loosen it. I don't want to take it all the way off yet without loosening the bottom first. With my 10mm triple square, now I'm going to go ahead and loosen the bottom bolt on the high pressure fuel pump. This one is a little difficult to get to, but not too bad. Now with the 17mm wrench, we'll go ahead and loosen the fuel line, the hard fuel line at the bottom of the fuel pump. So first I'm going to break it loose. Now I'm going to stuff a rag down below it to catch any fuel that's going to drip out when we disconnect it. Not too much comes out of this one though. Once you got the hard fuel line loosened with the wrench, you can just unscrew it by hand. The threads are pretty coarse, so it's easy to spin that thing loose. Towards the top of the engine, there's a holding bracket with a screw in it. This is what you use your T27 for. We're going to remove this screw. That way it'll be much easier to get that hard line out of the way, and also when you go to put your new fuel pump in, it's easier with this line being loose. With the 10mm triple square, now I'm going to fully remove the top fuel pump bolt and the bottom fuel pump bolt. Now it's time to get that fuel pump out. Now go ahead and remove the cam follower with one finger or two, depending on what. Never mind. Just, it slides out pretty easy with your fingers. Oh, that still doesn't sound right. All right, let me talk to you for a minute about these cam followers. The one on the right is the factory one that the car came with. Notice the inside, how it looks there. Now this one on the left over here is one I got online that it fits the same, but see, the inside is a little different. And when I had that installed on the car, it was throwing errors. So I removed it, put that factory one back in, the errors went away. So be sure that you get the proper cam follower when you're shopping for it. The 2014 looks like this one, not the other one. And you're supposed to replace it when you're replacing the fuel pump. That's what's recommended. All right, here we have the high pressure fuel pump. Now you're going to want to put a little bit of oil on this O-ring before installing it. And take note of the spring here. That's going to fight with you a little bit when you put this in. It's not going to allow you to push it totally against the screw holes. But as you start torquing down the screws for the fuel pump, it will push itself against the housing and you'll be fine. All right, now it's time to install the cam follower. Make sure that little notch is facing up when you install it, and just gently work it in there. Once it's lined up, that thing just slides in on its own. See, look at that. Boom. Just, yep, there it goes. Next, we're going to install the high pressure fuel pump. Just line the spring up inside of the cam follower and make sure the bolt holes are lined up. Now I'm going to go ahead and start hand tightening the bolts for the fuel pump. I'll start with the top one. And now I'm going to use the little paper towel trick to kind of hold this guy in place so it doesn't fall somewhere into the engine bay. And I'm going to hand tighten the bottom screw, or bottom bolt for the fuel pump. Now as you start wrenching these bolts down, that gap between the housing and the fuel pump will start to close. So you're going to want to tighten the bottom, then tighten the top. Just don't tighten one side completely all at once. Now I'm sure there's torque specs on the high pressure fuel pump bolts, but I just went with a good hand tighten. I mean, it doesn't have to be like super tight, but just, you know, on there. I suppose if you see oil shooting out from your cam follower, then it's not tight enough. Alright, now just reconnect the hard line at the bottom. You can just get it started by hand. Again, the threads on this hard fuel line are pretty coarse, so it's easy to screw this thing in by hand. And then when it gets hand tight, you could grab your 17mm wrench and make sure it's tightened more securely. Obviously, you don't want fuel dripping, but it doesn't take a ton of pressure to finish tightening this thing. And don't forget to tighten the T27 screw that secures the fuel hard line at the top of the engine, as well as reconnect the fuel hose at the top part of the high pressure fuel pump. My camera batteries died, so there's no footage of that. Sorry, guys. And last, reconnect the sensor cable at the top of the fuel pump. And done. Look at that. New fuel pump. Well, thanks for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the thumbs up.